at 9 years old. Poetry voice. At 9 years old, I rule the world, skipping through the grass along the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. on an impossibly humid day in late August. My mother leading the way on one of her epic walkabouts, a bohemian cheerleader in pigtails and bell bottoms, tipsy on life, singing a song only she knows. And my sister, sulking behind us, overwrought and angry, fighting the world for my mother's undivided attention, which none of us will ever receive. And I, elven-hearted and porous, dunk my head into the fountain and hold my breath until the world and the war and the heat drain away. And in that cool, dark emptiness, a single thread of melody rises and whispers itself into my left ear like a vow. I come up for air, whipping my hair in an arc of splintered light, and I am humming raw and incandescent. So I spend my summers camping and writing at the Yuba River, which is about 3.5 hours northeast of me in Nevada City, California. And so a lot of my poems are about the river. A lot of the poems I'm reading tonight are from my upcoming collection called The Yuba Witch. And this river is my muse. And I married the river. And this is called Say Yes. At midnight on Tuesday, her flower bloomed beside the river that pours in pulses of lace through the eye holes of the rock skulls that rest their heads on the bank to dream. She cracks and crumbles into the murmur of water that signs its name across her skin, delicately devouring her edges. The granite boulders of her back, marbled with grief, break apart at the seams, scatter the water with sparks from her veins. Say yes to an invitation received on a handwritten scroll, tied with a white string, hidden in a rock crevice and read one evening as the moon sliced the sky. She remembers one humid summer night when she stayed out late with the boy who read a book under the street lamp while bats darted in and out, catching moths in their mouths. Language was a song she sang while she rode her bike up and down the hill. A melody tattooed its signature across her shoulders in notes she bent on the lute of her ribs, her polka dot shirt unbuttoned, flying in the breeze behind her, her heart open to the sun. Resist, resistance, she sings to herself like a mantra. The supple sapling of her spine rises toward the light as she spins on a tilted axis from gravity's hip The water takes and turns her in its wise white hands as she composts last year's loss. In the morning, a velvet peach ripens in her throat. She warbles as she's born, year after year of dark nights and bright noontides. The zippered pocket of her being opens and closes. So 3 summers ago at the river, a man showed up. His name was Vincent. He was a yogi and he was covered head to toe in tattoos. The tattoo that was the most significant for me on him was a band that stretched across his entire eyes like a blindfold, including when his eyes were closed, his eyelids were tattooed. So this just looked like a whole black blindfold. It was so intense. And, you know, unless you're Maori, facial tattoo completely marginalizes you in our society. So this was powerful. Vincent. Vincent visited the river today, tall and lean, head shaved clean. He sat in full lotus, meditating, while the long-haired, cannabis-smoking hipsters pranced across the rocks. Their pixie girlfriends bouncing bare-breasted, chittering to each other across the water. Vincent was silent. All discipline and poise, the only movement, his tattoos hissing like snakes as they wound round his skin. All day he sat quietly and watched the river, a band of black ink penned across his eyes like a blindfold, but he saw through. I played a song on guitar and sang, "Wake me when you're ready. I'll just be here dreaming. Wake me when you're ready to go. Wake me when you're ready to go." He stood and bowed, hands pressed in prayer, eyes met mine, lucid as sky. I noticed his belt buckle, a silver octopus dancing dervish. "Cool buckle," I said. He replied with a huge grin, and one word he said, "Kraken." I saw him only one more time that summer. I was walking back from Emerald Pools and I spied him turning down the trail toward Oak Tree. I made a soft animal sound and he stopped in his tracks, turning slowly. He smiled. I shared that I'd just had an extraordinary experience. I'd fallen asleep on the rocks and dreamed I'd grown a mermaid's tail. Scales shimmering iridescent in the sun, undulating with a life of its own, rocking me into rhythm with the cosmos. "How about you?" I asked. "What?" he replied. I said, "Anything extraordinary?" His eyes shone like two small oceans connected by a border of ink that tethered his face to a dark past. He said, "It already is." I'll give you 2 shorts. Jewels. When the river rocks are wet, their colors come to life. You can spend hours hunting agate, serpentine, bloodstone, but let them dry and your treasures turn dull as dirt. Mouse brown, charcoal gray, put the people in the river, watch them shine up like jewels. Carved by Picasso. Picasso was here carving stone long before the gold miners. He etched curves smooth as skin, cubed contours of body and bone, chiseled edges jagged with pain, puzzled them against the sky. Only the water watched, with her millions of eyes glinting, singing as he worked the rock. She, knowing the patience and persistence it takes to whittle the surface, reveal the essence, balancing force without forcing. 10 years ago, my best friend Jennifer, when I was living in Boulder, Colorado, died of pancreatic cancer. It took me 8 years before I could write her poem. She called me Lady M, and I called her Lady J. And this is the poem for my friend Lady J. I only have one photo of you. You are sitting in my house in Boulder, mid-sentence, your hands lift like birds, a small nest of fire burning in each hand. You're holding court on the pillows of Esmeralda, our 8-foot-long lime green velveteen sofa we bought at a yard sale on 5th and Arapahoe for $30 because you said it would invite tall men to lie down. We met because we kept seeing each other around town, wearing each other's old jeans we managed to squeeze into at the consignment store. And you finally suggested we get together and do a clothing swap so we could stop paying for each other's hand-me-downs. I came over to your apartment above the old roadhouse and you put acupuncture needles in my arm. We laughed because although our bodies were totally different shapes, we wore exactly the same size, which meant we could share clothes. We dressed up for each other every day after that. Sassy cabaret cowgirls in aubergine colored jeans, badass boots, vintage silk camisoles. We realized we were more sisters than we were strangers, and we were inseparable for the next 5 years until we broke up because you told me I didn't know what God was. And if I had to do it again now, I would have just laughed at you rather than walking away, because how could I not know what God was when you always amazed me? You who wore lingerie under your Catholic school uniform so you had something to smile about when the nuns beat you down. You who showed me how to afford to eat in Boulder. If you put it in a brown paper bag at the market, Lady M, you can put whatever price you want on it. Nothing major. Heirloom tomatoes, organic cherries, dark chocolate haystacks. You who would call me at 10 p.m. on trash night and say, come on, Lady M, time to go alley shopping. And we'd fill the back of your beater truck with treasures we'd pirated from the dumpsters, both of us finding exactly what we needed to furnish our homes. You, who directed me to college in Vermont, where I learned my own worth. You, who asked me how I bring my poems to life and accompanied me to do my first public reading, my voice shaking. You, who shamelessly ate boxes of chocolate chip cookies in your white silk kimono while scribbling haiku. You, who could turn any concern I had on its head by asking me to look at it another way. And your wisest line to me, well, Lady Meredith, the rules only apply to you if you let them. I miss you, Lady J. I never got to say goodbye when you were dying. We had drifted apart and old grudges kept us that way. I didn't find out until a year later. You came to me in a dream one mid-September night. When you didn't answer my calls or emails, I searched you up, found your obituary. Stunned, I asked questions. The answer came too late: pancreatic cancer. I went for a walk that night, 1 year from the day you died, and I swear you came with me. Said you were ready to move on, and I was the only one you hadn't spoken with. And then there was this moment when you let me see through your eyes, and everywhere I looked, all the molecules glowed like millions of tiny suns. I stood there transfixed. You said, "This is what it really looks like, Lady M." And then it was over, and you were gone. And it was too late to tell you that I had seen your hands lift like firebirds, that the scenes on your kimono came to life and danced in luminous poetry. Let's go back to the river. Huntress of the Holy Sound. I sat by the river and I listened to the water. She was singing about forgiveness. She was singing about hunger. She was singing a song of sunlight as my body rolled under. I asked the rocks and I asked the water what to do about my hunger while I chewed on rinds of anger by the mouth of the river. She sat down beside me, touched my skin with her fingers. Shake out your bones, you wild creature. Shake out your bones, you wild dancer. Gather and empty your blood of what aches, and the moon will make her honey in the dark from your mistakes. I sat by the river and I listened to the water. Her waves washed me over like the hands of the mother. I came clean to her gospel. I came hard to her thunder, and her waves washed me over as my body rolled under. Let go your worries, lay your body down here at the river where the earth is hallowed ground. Let go your worries, lay your body down The gospel of the water will unwind what is bound. Light a flame for forgiveness, light a flame for truth. Claim your worthiness for love, grow into your youth. Come home to the river, home to this sacred sound where the water sings your name in the secret language that you found. There are circles on the water playing prism with the light. There are rocks carved with faces who tell your fortune in the night. She will wrap you in her rapture, share her pockets, treasures deep. Your tears will turn to temples in the healing of her heat. She'll sing a song of forgiveness in a hard-earned melody. Her music will absolve you of every wrongful deed. Whisper your prayers to the water, moan your desire to the moon, turn your wisdom into soil, seeds to plant, seeds to bloom. Come home to the river, home to this holy ground. The gospel of the water will wash your body down. Come home to the river, lay your body down, feed the bones of your past to the mouth of this holy ground. Sit here by the water, hear your name in her song. Come clean to her rhythm, here where you belong. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love sharing my work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. We loved listening to your work. I grew up on a river in Michigan, so I can connect a lot of what you said. That's great. And your poem about your friend was very, very touching. So that was really special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Meredith, thank you for taking us to that magical place of your poetry. And it's just lovely. I think Neil put out your website. Is that right, Neil? So
Yes,
you
I
all
did.
can buy her books or whatever you want, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Yes. Bonesofsynchronicity.com is my website, Bones of Synchronicity. My Songlines chapbook you can purchase from Finishing Line Press. My new book called Write a Poem, Save Your Life is being published by New World Library. It'll be out spring of 2021. That magnificent being down there, D. Patrick Miller, is my agent who found me. Love you, Patrick. And there'll be a couple new short chapbook collections coming out, River Spells and the Yuba Witch. And I teach classes on Zoom for kids and adults. So you can do it from anywhere because we're on Zoom. So please be in touch with me and send me a note and say hello. And thank you all for your beautiful listening, ears of your hearts, and beautiful faces following, and for your poetry too. What an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. So yeah, I will go ahead and I will repost your website link and everything so people can find it on Facebook. And do you have a Facebook page that you could let people know about, or are you on
Meredith Heller.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll make that clear as well. So excellent. So Wendy, we have a little time left here. We could maybe do another call for more poets. This is a hard act to follow once you have.
I know.
That's the problem. I don't know if I think we got through all the people on the list. I actually have a poem here about my river. Do you want to hear it? It's just like I'm a little bit embarrassed, but okay. I see a couple thumbs up. It's not too long, but I grew up on the Kalamazoo River in Michigan, and when I was a boy, I was like a river rat. I was just constantly running through the poison ivy. I think my doctor said he'd never seen a kid so covered in rash like every summer. But it was a great place to grow up as a boy. The last house on a dead end street, just in nature and this beautiful river in front of us. And so this is my poem about a river called the river. The river flows down to the sea, current swift and deep, meandering it knows the way. Who am I to disagree? Past rushes on mosquito banks where sycamores touch the sky, ripples mark the fallen logs where turtles bask to dry. Dragonflies move precise, land on feet so light, fireflies join the dance, sparkle in the night. Rising waters